Hello there, it's Veronica Valley. Welcome to 2020. We got through it, we survived the holiday season, and now we want to go into this new decade thriving, right? Is everybody with me? So what I want to talk about is how to do that, because a big part of what I do and what Chip and I do together is there's so much more to life than drinking and just staying sober. We are not here. We do not want it on our gravestones 80 years from now. Here lies Veronica Valley, and she stayed away from a drink one day at a time. We are here to have the best experience of life that we can possibly have. We are here to live to our full purpose and our full potential. Now, alcohol is really, really, really getting in the way of that. So that's the first thing we have to deal with. We have to stop drinking. We have to put down alcohol, and we have to find some structured support to start getting some weeks, some months, and then a year or so under our belt, because then we are on firmer ground. We are on more solid foundations when we do that. And then we have to do the personal development stuff. Now, here's the thing. Personal development. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, there's a Greek philosopher, and I think it's Socrates or Plato, I always get them confused, who says, a life lived unexamined is not a life worth living. So what we mean by personal development and examining our lives is we really have to go inside and really, really find out who we are, why we respond to the world the way we do, what is our purpose here. It's all mastery. You know, we never, ever stop learning. We never stop learning. You know, there's always a new app or program I have to learn. We never stop learning, but we never stop learning emotionally, psychologically, all of that stuff. So this is something all human beings have to do. This isn't just us. Everybody has to do that. But not everybody knows this. Not everybody knows that you are here to grow. That is the purpose of your life. So to really thrive this decade, we need to be sober, and we need to embark on a path of growth and expansion. And that's really kind of my wheelhouse. That's what I do best. So I want to talk to you first a little bit about what has been holding you back from being sober and living the sober life that you want and the real growth that you are looking for. And the answers are really in your subconscious mind. And this stuff is really, really, really interesting. So your subconscious mind is the stuff that's in your mind that you are not aware of. Our subconscious mind is programmed from about the years 0 to 7. Because when we are very small, we don't have any barriers. Like, we're just taking in data. Now, those of you who have kids, small kids, my kids are 8 and 4, it's all they're doing is learning and growing. That's all they're doing, starting with picking things up, to pulling themselves up, to walking, all of the, wiping their asses, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't stop when they get to 18 or 21. It doesn't just you just stop. It continues forever, but it's really amplified in those first few years. So you're just taking in data when you're really young, and you're taking in data about yourself, about the world, and your place in the world. And you don't have the ability when you're small to question that or challenge it. You just absorb it. So how we were programmed when we were very, very young is vital. We are programmed by our parents, our caregivers, our communities, our religion, and our schools, but mostly it's really what messages our parents gave us. Some of us, our parents loved us and they did the best they could, but they didn't have the tools themselves. So the things that they told us really affected us. And I'll give you an example. This is what my mother did to me. I know 100% my mother loves me. She loves me beyond all things, and she has only ever wanted the best for me. I absolutely know that's a fact. However, when that came from her and eventually came out in words, it always came out in fear. So my mother was constantly telling me to not do things. If I made a mistake or messed up, she would tell me, you've made a mistake, you've messed up, that's wrong. She would often kind of say things in a way that I then interpreted to believe that I wasn't good enough. So it came from a place of love, but all of her warnings and fear programmed me to believe that I wasn't good enough and I was always going to mess up, because that's what she told me. And this then played out in my adult life. You may have had similar things happen to you. If you think back to some of the messages your parents gave you, if you think about things about not just about you, but how they viewed the world, how they viewed money, how they viewed abundance, how they viewed food, how they viewed other people, you will have absorbed all of those messages into your subconscious mind. And until you do the work to uncover them and question whether they are true or not, and if they serve you, these things will govern and dominate your life. And I cannot emphasize that enough. The subconscious mind, so the conscious mind, which is your conscious mind, was like, oh, Veronica's doing a workshop at 10:30. I'm going to turn up for that because I think that's going to be interesting. Your conscious mind had that thought. Our conscious mind is responsible for a lot. It's where our intellect is, our creativity, our logic, our rational thinking, all of that decision making. Am I going to have soup for lunch or a sandwich, all that kind of stuff. However, your conscious mind is only responsible for 5% of what happens in any given day. So your subconscious mind is what drives the bus, and you don't even know what's going on in there. So basically we're being ruled by a 7-year-old if we don't know what's going on in there. So what happens is we have this programming, and from that our brains are sorting out data, and our brains want to create hacks, shortcuts, because there's so much data coming in all the time. So what happens is it creates these shortcuts, and something will happen. So I was beginning to believe that I wasn't good enough and I was always going to mess up because that's what my mother told me. And then I'd go to school and I'd not get picked for the hockey team, or I did badly in French. And that would just reinforce that, well, because you're not good enough and you always mess up. And what happens is we just reinforce these limiting beliefs. Our brain makes these shortcuts. My brain didn't go, you messed up at French because you didn't revise and you didn't study, and if you put a bit of effort into it, maybe you get better at it. My brain didn't go, you didn't get picked for the hockey team because you're not actually a great, really fast runner and they need someone who's really fast, but you are really good at dancing and that's where your skills are. My brain just went, you didn't get picked for hockey because you're not good enough, because my brain needs to make shortcuts. So we then, as we grow into adulthood, our brains are just looking for information and events to support these limiting beliefs that we have formed. Is everyone with me so far? Does that make sense? Put yes or no in the comments. So what happens is these limiting beliefs, this program is the origins of our emotions. So what happens as an adult, something happens. Maybe relationship doesn't work out, I get dumped, or I don't get promoted at work, or I feel excluded from a friendship group, whatever it is, that happens. I feel these really difficult, intense, unwanted emotions. And the reason I have that emotional reaction is because of this subconscious program. Remember, my brain's made a hack. It's just gone, you didn't get invited to that party. They passed you over for promotion. That guy didn't want to date you anymore because you're not good enough. It's not able to rational these things out because the subconscious mind has created these hacks and everything is hidden from us. So this is so key to sobriety, because a lot of these limiting beliefs and programming is what's holding you back in your sobriety. So first of all, we need to, excuse my language, blow that shit up. If you believe you're not good enough, if you're not worth anything, all of that kind of stuff, that's going to affect how you actually get sober, because most people, when they get sober, have several attempts, and those attempts can sometimes, I don't like the term relapse, but they can feel like failure. What they are is just experimentation. Now, I ideally wish everybody who has an alcohol problem got sober and nobody ever went back to relapse, because sometimes it can be dangerous. Sometimes people do die, but mostly it's a sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back shuffle until people get there. But the reason that that's so hard is because of your subconscious programming about yourself and how you, that you're a failure or you're not good enough. That's going to play into your sobriety. Now, you get sober and you've established some weeks and months and things still feel really, really hard. That's because your subconscious mind is still driving the bus. So to thrive this decade, what you have to do is uncover that programming, that stuff in your subconscious mind, so you can then get it out and go, oh, that's not true. Challenge it and change it. This is some of the core work I do in some of my coaching programs is around this, but this is some of the work that we do in Sober for Life as well. This comes up all the time. This is the deeper work. Now, once we do that, and this is the place that I'm in, you then have emotional mastery and you are not ruled by your emotions. I used to be a slave to my emotions. I used to be a slave to, however I felt. I remember once when I got dumped by some guy I was dating at college, and I put down the phone, and I had this like tsunami of feelings, and my head just went, get wine. And I went and got 2 bottles of wine because it put the tsunami back. That is not emotional mastery. That is your emotions owning you. That is slavery. So when you uncover this stuff, you then understand yourself better and you are able to move to emotional mastery. What does emotional mastery look like? This is what it looks like. Emotional mastery is having appropriate emotional responses to events. Appropriate emotional responses to events. So when I get dumped by some guy or not invited to the movies with some friends or whatever, everything just went straight to my original pain and rejection and messaging of not being good enough from my childhood. Now I have appropriate emotional responses. Now, I remember this happening. I was about 3 years sober, something like that. And there was a guy I really was attracted to who I worked with. And after a couple of weeks, I realized he didn't feel the same way about me. He just saw me as a friend. And I felt disappointment, which is an appropriate emotional response. And I was walking down the road and I just thought, I wonder what's wrong with him. I'd make a great girlfriend to somebody. It's kind of a shame that that's not going to work out in the way that I'd like it to, because I would be a great girlfriend for somebody. And I felt a bit disappointed, but I felt like, okay, that's okay. That is an appropriate emotional response to an event. So we feel the full spectrum of our feelings. We're never going to escape ever feeling fear or disappointment or anger or bitterness or loneliness or any of those kind of emotions that are not the most comfortable ones. The key is that we can choose how we respond to them, and we have different emotional reactions. I remember a time in my life when it was not that long ago. It was about 3 or 4 years ago when my kids were very young and I'd moved to a new area and I was very, very lonely because I had no friends. An appropriate emotional response. New mum, little kids, exhausted, no friends. The appropriate emotional response to that is loneliness. And as soon as that came to when I realized that, I knew then I could do something about it. And I did, and I have friends, and that's changed. So I want you to be really clear about what the problem really, really is and the deeper work that you have to do. We need to be sober to do this, and structured support is really, really helpful. Don't do this on your own. It's unnecessary. It's much harder. Why would you do it? And then you can start doing the really juicy personal development work, which is where the extraordinary stuff happens. I want you to know, I'm going to be 20 years sober in May. I'm almost 47 years old. I've been married almost 10 years and I have 2 little boys and a career that I love. My life is not perfect. I have challenges in it. My youngest son was lead poisoned a few years ago. My relationship with my mother is certainly very decent, but is still a difficult one I have to manage, etc., etc. I didn't show up like this what I have and who I am and how I show up in my life is as a direct result of doing this specific work. Now, if you are ready to do that and you want to do that in a really structured, supportive way, then I would really encourage you to join the Soberful Life program before enrollment closes next week. We made it super affordable. It's $23.99 a month, which is, you're not going to get, for the kind of what we have available there, you're not going to get any of that, what we offer there. What do we offer there? We offer, we have several coaching programs. So when you join, you get to show up to one of our recovery groups, which is a group that you just can come by and be in front of Chip or I, and bring with whatever you're struggling with. Chip, Veronica, I'm really struggling with X, Y, and Z, help. And we will help you dig your way out of that. We have an empowering habits coaching program. Empowering habits is we have habits. We have really bad ones. We want to change them to empowering ones that really support us to grow. So in that monthly coaching program, I teach empowering habits. I teach what they are, how they work, and how to apply them in your life. They're tools. We have a new program starting, which is an intuitive eating program with Coach Tiffany. You may have seen the video we did with her yesterday. If not, it's on my Facebook page, Veronica Valley Soberful. She's going to do a monthly coaching program around intuitive eating, because so many people struggle with food issues when they get sober, and sugar and all that kind of stuff. So we also have a monthly Q&A, and we also have guest experts come in, and we also have additional workshops, plus all of the library of workshops. So there's like 6 or 7 hours of new content every month that you get to dip in and learn from and grow from for the price of 2 bottles of wine, for the price of a pedicure. You also get to be part of a really, really supportive community who are all focused on going on the right direction. So I'd love to invite you to join that. We do the kind of stuff I was talking about today. We do this kind of work. This is the kind of work that we do in the program. And this is the kind of work you have to do as a human being, and especially if you want to be a sober person. And we wanted to make that really accessible for everybody to do. There's a link in the description. I give prizes for people who join every day. So if you are the 17th person to join today, I am going to send you a Soberful Life t-shirt. And I can see it because everything's timestamped. So it's from 10:48 EST. If you're the 17th person, I will send that to you. If you have questions, put them below, and check out the events tab in this Facebook group, because I have some more mini trainings over the next few days. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.